welcome back. We have another product to review. This time it is an electric string trimmer. This one is from Inhulk, and if you might recognize that name, if you remember last year I did a review on their 930 CFM blower, and this string trimmer is using the same battery, the 58 volt Pro Series battery, and there it is right over there. So we have two. These are actually different batteries. They're both 58 volt, but they're different amp hour, and I'll show you that in a second. But this is it. Here is the first look at this string trimmer. It looks a little dirty because I've been using this for a couple of weeks. I actually cleaned it up for the review so that I can review it properly. I actually used it a lot, and it's really strong. It's really smooth. It is really, really good, and I'm happy to review it. So, moving on. Okay, so I'm going to start with the batteries. These are, as I mentioned, these are both 58 volt, but if you look up closely, you can see the difference here. Right on the sides, this one is 5 amp hour, and this one is 2.5 amp hour, and that means that even though the same voltage, one lasts twice as long as the other. Now, the one that came with the string trimmer, I'm pretty sure, because I realized this later, I'm pretty sure it was this one. I think the string trimmer came with the 2.5 amp hour, and this 5 amp hour one came with the blower. And as I was out there using it, I was kind of wondering, because it seemed like one battery lasted a lot longer than the other, and way after the fact I figured that out. So I will explain the tops of these, the meters here. So this one here is possibly not completely charged. Nope, it is completely charged. How about this one? Okay, so I wanted to be able to show like when it's not charging. So this is 5 out of 5, and the final one will not be lit if it's not charged all the way, or if it's completely dead. None of them would charge, halfway charged, 3 of them would charge. You know, you get the idea. But I'm not going to be able to show it charging because they're all charged up already. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so as I mentioned, let me get a good close-up here. The shaft itself, I think I mentioned it, the shaft itself is made out of carbon fiber. And the reason why they do that, and the whole thing is all the way down. Now the reason why they did that is to make it lightweight and also to reduce vibrations. So what I've done here is I have brought out a couple of other string trimmers, another electric one from a competitor and a gas one, and we are going to use a vibration meter. I've actually got an app, and we are going to test to see which one has the highest vibration. That's going to be hard to film. And then we're also going to weigh them to see if this one is lighter than the other two, and that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so I'm going to show this spinning for the first time just to show you how smooth it is, and I wanted to mention something while I'm doing that, is the safety. This is genius. Now normally safety is another button somewhere on it that is really hard to get to on, like, say for example this one. We've got the safety way over there, and it's hard to hold it down as you're pulling the trigger. This one has the safety on the top. If you let your palm up off of it, then it shuts off. Very annoying. But the safety on this one, as you can see, it just flips this way and you just pull. It's just the best idea for safety I've ever seen. But then let's look at the spinning. There's something very important that I want to mention. First of all, look how smooth. You can go super slow. Listen to that. Or all stages in between. It is definitely digital proportional, meaning the more you press the trigger, the faster it goes instead of just on and off. And it is nice and smooth. And that tapping you hear is the string hitting the cutter. The cutter is right over there, and that's what cuts it to the diameter that it's supposed to be running at. Just wanted to mention all that before we go through all the trouble of hooking up the vibration meter I guess I'm going to attach them to the handles because that's where you would be holding it and that's where you'd be feeling the vibrations. I don't know, but I'll put it on exactly the same way on all three of them, so regardless of how the value is tainted, it's tainted exactly the same way on all three. So let's start with this one. I'll attach it to there and then film it with the other camera. And the important thing that I wanted to mention, if you notice, you guys that have experience, what are you noticing here? What's different about this one? It's spinning to the right. Now, I've been cutting grass for 30 years, and every string trimmer I've ever picked up spins to the left. These two spin to the left. All the other ones spin to the left. This one spins to the right, which is actually no problem, but it is something to get used to. It seems to, in the long run, actually work out better. It makes more sense for them to turn to the right. And once you get used to it, you go around the house the other direction. It's something that you adapt to, and it works out fine. But I just wanted to mention that. It was a surprise to me. Okay, so here's how we have it set up. I have my phone is running the vibration app. It's actually already picking up little vibrations. Maybe we're having an earthquake. But I do not have it clamped into, if you can see here. It is just loose on the top of the table so that the table is not stabilizing it. And I'll do all three exactly the same way. And we're going to run them all on full throttle to see what kind of values we get. So, if you look at it here, I may have to restart it. Let's see what we get. Alright, a little hard to see. And let's go full throttle. What is that value? About 3.6. So we have a vibration of 3.6 on the InHulk. Now let's go to the Dongcheng and see what we get on that one. Okay, so now we do the Dongcheng string trimmer, and as you can see I have it set up exactly the same way. Trimmer is loose on the top of the table there and hooked up exactly the same way. Vibration meter is running already, and so now we're going to run it at full throttle and see what we get. There we go. Okay, it looks like it's averaging about 4.2. And I already can't remember what the first one was, but I think this is higher. And moving on, so the next one, this ought to be entertaining. Okay, so this one's going to be entertaining. This, of course, is a gas trimmer. This is the Echo, what is it? The PAS 225, basically means roughly 25 cc. This will have the highest vibration, of course. It's going to be a little bit hard to even keep the phone on it. But we are curious to see what that value actually is, so we're going to start up the app and try to start it without losing the phone, and we'll get a value for you. Okay, so here we go. Tried to even see what we got. It's up there around 7 or 8, just idling. Now let me throttle it up. Well, that was interesting, actually. Of course, idling, it was way up there around 7 or 8. But when it went to full throttle, it leveled out pretty well. And from what I saw, it was a value right around 4. So that's what I'm going to put at. So at high RPM, it kind of centrifugally balances itself. And so I was really thinking that was going to be a lot higher on a gas-powered machine. But when it's really spinning, it's fairly stable at 4. So, wow. Anyway, those are our values. Let's look at the results. Okay, here are the values that I got. The InHulk with a 3.6, Dongcheng with a 4.2, and Echo with a 4.0. I'm a little shocked at the gas value. So the Echo's actually not that bad, really, but the Dongcheng has the worst vibration, and it is noticeable on that one. So InHulk wins this contest. Now let's weigh them all. We have to put all three of them on a scale separately and see which one weighs the most. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a kind of a point of view. I want to be able to show that the bathroom scale is zeroed, and without cutting the scene at all, I'm picking up the trimmer and placing it on the scale. And I want to mention that this is with the battery in it. Let's see what we got. Okay, we are right at 10.0, and that is, like I mentioned, the battery is in, and this is the 2.5 amp hour battery. The 5.0 does weigh more than this one, noticeably. When you have the two in each hand, the 5 weighs more. So this is the one that came with it. It is 10.0 pounds according to a bathroom scale, which isn't a super accurate scale, not like a postal scale. Their advertised weight is 9.8, and with this rough scale showing 10, I'm going to say that that is an accurate weight that they give on the advertisement. So that settles that, and let's move on to the Dongcheng. Okay, so here we go with the Dongcheng. It has its batteries in too, as you can see there. It runs 2 batteries. And the scale is at 0. And so let's pick it up and set it on there. See what we get. Oh yeah. Yeah, this one definitely, so 13.5 pounds. And that is noticeable. This is a bit of a tank to use, this one. And I think that's because they actually run a shaft. I think the motor is way back in the back here, and they're running a shaft all the way down. Metal shaft. And once again here, the metal would weigh more than carbon fiber. So that's why this one weighs a lot. And so let's move on to the Echo. Okay, so here we go with the Echo. Now, no battery, of course. It has about a half a tank of gas, which is going to be the kind of factor there. But it's not even a direct comparison anyway, because we're doing electric string trimmers. But I just wanted to show we're at 0 here, and I don't even know what... This is the trimmer that I use on a daily basis. I don't even know what it weighs, so let's find out. It weighs 12 pounds. And yet somehow it seems a lot lighter than the Dongcheng. I don't know why. But so there you have it. So I will write that down and we'll compare the totals. And here we go. So the InHulk, of course, is the lightest at 10 pounds, followed by the Echo at 12, and Dongcheng is the heaviest at 13.5. Okay, so InHulk wins in both categories there. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, what I'm going to do now is demonstrate the bump feed and the auto advance. So what you do is you tap it on the ground and it will advance the string a little bit, and then it will cut it off automatically on this little cutter blade. And then that will give you your cutting width, and then we're going to measure the cutting width, and that'll give us our cutting width. Okay, let's go check it out. There is the circle that I just made. We got the tape measure. Set it across. And then we're going to look and see what that value is. We are at, I think I'm at the edge there. What is that, 15 or 16? And I actually don't recall what it's supposed to be, but it's right around where it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be 16, so that might actually be 16. Anyway, that's what I got. Just showing that. We'll move on. Okay, so let's go over the 3 modes here. We're going to be starting the actual testing here. So if you hit the safety, lift the safety up, and you got your trigger going. Very, very precise. And it will be the most precise on the lowest level there. Right there. One bar is the eco mode, And then here we have the high mode, and then this is the turbo mode. And they all sound about the same on the table, but if you'll notice, ramps up kind of slow on eco, and then on high, quite a bit more pep. And then turbo, I think it's really only going to be summoning. I don't think the RPMs, I don't know. But I think it's really more of amperage type thing that's happening when it's got to hunker down and really muscle through something. And we'll discover that a little bit later on. But we have to do a couple of tests here. We have to do a kind of a longevity test on regular trimming and regular eco mode, and to see about how long the battery lasts. And then we will test it on high and turbo in some thicker stuff. So at this point, well, actually there's one more thing I got to show before we do that. And so there you go. As you can see, it folds up to make it easier to fit in the truck, because this, of course, being electric, you don't want to put it on the trailer in case it rains. So you can put it in the truck by folding it up, or I just kind of drape it over the seat, completely extended. It fits in there. Or if you are limited on storage in your garage, then you can fold it up and put it in a little corner somewhere. But I just wanted to show, this is, I think, pretty important, because people are going to be wondering, is how is that going to get worn out? If you keep opening and closing, is it going to wear out that wire? But as you can see, they put a nice, really thick, let me get that into the sun. They put a nice, thick rubber sleeve around that wire so that it can handle opening and closing many times. Okay, and that pretty much wraps up all this preliminary stuff. Now we can go use it. And we're going to be testing longevity in eco mode. And that is going to have, as I wanted to show, without a question, it has the 2.5 amp hour battery that came with it. So the test for longevity will be with that battery, the one that comes with it. And then for the other things, we're going to find some really thick areas to test, and at that point this battery will be exhausted. We're going to bring the larger one for testing the high mode and turbo mode. And that's where the fun's going to come in. So off to the yard, and we'll be filming out in somebody's yard for the rest of this. Okay, so here's where I want to show the battery compatibility. As I mentioned, the blower there that I reviewed last year, and I'll have a link for that blower. That's the best electric blower I've ever used. But that one came, as I mentioned, with a 5 amp hour 58 volt battery. And of course the trimmer has a 2.5 amp hour 58 volt battery. But they're both exactly the same size and exactly the same terminals and the same voltage. They will work interchangeably, and I just wanted to show that. Let me back up as much as I can here to try to show that the end is spinning. And let's switch those batteries out. So it looks like I am going to be able to demonstrate just using up the battery a little bit there. I'm going to be able to show what it does when you put it on the charger and it needs to charge a little bit. Just slide it right in those grooves, press it down, and that's what it looks like when it's charging. And it won't take very long for one bar to be fully, well, there we go, it's fully charged now. Okay, so here we are out on location. As you can see, I have the 2.5 milliamp hour or amp hour battery in there, and we're about to demonstrate it, trimming up an entire property, see if it has enough battery power to do all that. You can see here we have mowed it already, and this one was pretty overgrown, but we still have to do all the trimming all over the place everywhere. There's a pool cage in the back, and then there's a front planter up there that we've got to do a lot of trimming. And so we will find out if it's got enough battery power on this battery. I know that the 5 amp does, but we'll see if the 2.5 can trim up an entire property. Keeping in mind, it doesn't say spinning the whole time you're walking around from plant to plant. So I think it will be able to do that. I just want to mention that all of this part of it is going to be done on economy mode, which is, as I showed, the switch on the left, which is the least powerful. It's still pretty good, but least powerful, so it's a battery conserving setting to allow you to do the whole thing. But when we're done with that, there is a section there that I purposely didn't mow around the corner. Let's go there now. So as you can see over here, I have left the top of the septic tank. You know, the whole yard wasn't like this. This is just, it grows like crazy on septic tanks. And I saw this and I'm like, well, you know what, this is going to be a good test area for the high setting and the turbo setting on the string trimmer. This grass here, this is the thickest section. This is where we'll do the turbo. And over there we'll do just the high setting. I'm not actually completely sure it's going to do this, so I don't know if we're going to have to get the mower off again. But we're certainly going to test it. But first of all, this is that's a solid 2 feet tall. But first off, we are going to demonstrate the economy mode, and so here we go. This is likely going to be time-lapsed. So you might be wondering, what is that flat area on the top of that right there? What is that all about? Well, that turns out to be an elbow rest, or forearm under the forearm rest. It's for comfort and convenience, and so light. Let me just demonstrate that. Okay, that brings us to this section. And I just want to show that this was definitely still the 2.5 amp hour battery. It did all that trimming. And we are going to do the battery check now. We have 3 out of 5 bars. And I tell you what, that is not bad. Now economy mode, of course, is its weakest mode because it's trying to conserve the battery, but it actually has quite a bit of power even in economy. So since we still have some juice, the first test I'm going to do here, probably right there, I'm going to leave it in economy mode and try to mow that stuff. By the way, weed whacking, string trimming is also called mowing. And I'm going to string trim this section right here in economy mode. Let's see what happens. Just wanted to show you, that is economy mode. My. It was able to do that even in economy mode. But this is actually, you know, I need to move on, so this is going to be the high setting and the turbo setting, which should be absolutely crazy. For right now, I'm going to go get the other battery and we'll do that test. Okay, so now we have the 5 amp hour battery. That doesn't mean it's any more powerful, it just means it has more longevity. But we are now switching it to so it is now on the high setting, and we're going to mow a strip on high and see what happens. Alright, that's not bad at all. I just want to move the camera over here. We're going to do the same pass, just at a better angle, I think. Right about here. We're going to get closer so we can see the action. Let's do that again. I gotta say, I'm really impressed. This is crazy amount of power. And that's not even on turbo. You know what, let's do the turbo now. Let's put it right about here. And I will switch it to turbo. Here we go. This should be crazy. So yeah, I am definitely noticing a little more powerful. I just hit the battery button and we are still at 5 bars. So, I mean, we're in good shape. I think that what I want to do now is do the ultimate torture test where we run it on turbo for a long amount of time. Just wide open, just slamming it in there, pushing it to the limit. So I'm going to set the camera up higher so we can see more of what's happening. And I'm just going to go to town. Okay, so there is no question that is impressive for any electric equipment. It's got the power of a brush cutter for sure, but they're not saying anything about putting a metal blade on it. But if you were to put a thicker string on it, it could definitely turn it. It's got lots of power. And of course, so I did mainly that entire section there in turbo mode, and so now we're going to look at the battery. What's amazing is it did it at all, but let's take a look and see what we got. So I can't see it. So 4 out of 5 bars. And this being the 5 amp hour battery, you can pretty much double that. Like say if it lost 1 bar or 2 bars, if it were the battery that came with it, it would be more like 2 bars. So honestly, in the 2.5, if it had started fresh, it would probably only have about 1 bar left. But it would have done it. My. It does not disappoint. Super strong. And now I actually still have, I got plenty of power left in this battery. And in that battery. So let's, I think we're done with the yard, so let's go get that blower and blow it all off. Alrighty, so that was the torture test, and that was the overall everything test, and it passed. You know, it never overheated in the midst of that tall grass, you know, solid turbo mode for however long it was. I'll add up the footage and see how many minutes it was running on turbo, being really challenged. But let's see what we got here. So that one's at 3, and this one is at 3. So 3 and 3. They're not even exhausted after doing all that. That's really amazing. Really amazing. I've got to say, so if you remember when I reviewed this blower, I was blown away. Blown away by a blower. Because of how strong it was. They really did do it. It really is as strong as a backpack blower. And then, of course, I knew that if they made a string trimmer, it was going to be very impressive, and it really is. Now, they have some other products. They've got, I think, a hedge trimmer, a chainsaw, and they are working on a lawnmower. And you can bet that that lawnmower is probably going to be the best electric lawnmower ever, because they don't skimp. They give it the power that it needs. And there's a Hornet. But I recommend, I give it an A+. I give both these A+. And I recommend it completely. It did not, you know, I showed everything. It didn't break, didn't overheat. It's worth it, whatever it costs. I think, I don't even know really, but it's not like commercial prices like you guys are used to. It's economical. So I'll have the links for it in the description. Go check it out. It passes, and so does this. Thanks for watching, everybody, and see you in the next one.